All right. Good morning, guys. Welcome in. How is everybody doing? Welcome. Welcome. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Good morning. Hope everybody is ready to dive into it. I have my caffeine here. You guys know that means we're gonna go crackhead speed today. Welcome in. Welcome. Lots of movement yesterday. Lots of CPI movement yesterday's session. It was a volatile day. We're going to talk about it. And wait for this. I have a new setup because these overlays on YouTube were bothering me. I was watching back some of the streams and I was like, some of the things we have going on here is too much. So we're gonna jump between screens now. Wait for this. Ready? You're gonna see the most epic transition. Ready? Watch this. Bam. So when we want to go for when we start a little introduction, we go like this, and then when we're ready to dive into it, we go right into. Wait for it. Bam. So that's the new layout we have now, just to keep everything laser focused on charts. I think it's a good layout. The reason why is because it keeps us focused in all solely on charts today, rather than like those crazy overlays underneath. It's cool to have, but I think focusing on charts is obviously most important. So we have a little bit of some technological advancements. We are advancing to a new level, a new stage. I can see that there is some things to play with, but I will play with it anyway. So you should float your name over your camera. If you don't know you know what? My name's not important. My name's not important. You probably know who I am at this point anyway, but my name isn't so important. Anyway, so we are going to talk about levels today. This is the most important thing. That's why you guys are here. Hope everybody is ready to dive into today's session. We have a lot to go over this morning. The reason why is because we had some major market movements yesterday, right? You guys saw what occurred yesterday following our CPI. You saw some major market movements. The thing is, on SPY yesterday, particularly on SPY yesterday, you saw a failure under a key level, okay? And the only key level that we really had to hold yesterday was 625, right? 625 was the key demand, and this was what maintained the market, right? This was the long spot yesterday. This was the only level that really made sense for longs. And when the market broke under this level, it kind of invalidated a lot of long setups yesterday, right? There was still one long setup on Qs, but once this level broke, it kind of changed and shifted the market structure. Now, the issue with yesterday's session was you either had to be short off the open, right? Or you had to just take long back at demand here and get in and then out very quickly. And if you didn't get in and out very quickly on long-based moves yesterday, you kind of got chopped around in the zombie grind lower. And on the ES chart kind of gave you the same thing, right? The ES chart level was 63.15. Now there were some sort of long setup here off 63.15 yesterday, but if you overheld positions, right, it kind of resulted in some crazy zombie grind down and probably stopped you out at the close. And now this morning you're seeing a gap up in the market. You're like, oh my God, what's going on, right? The idea this morning, really yesterday, was yesterday we saw the slow pullback to demand, and the demand held. You saw some initial holds of demand. You saw a failure of demand lower. And now the question this morning is, where are the reclaims, right? Are there any reclaims today's session that we can watch out for? Any long-based reclaims? Or are there any rejections we should be watching out for today's session? So we're going to talk about all this morning. We're going to go over everything. We'll go over what happened yesterday, the ES and SPY chart. We're also going to go over the QQQ 557 level. This is the most important level I have today's session. It is the level, right? This was, if you guys were on live with us pre-market yesterday, if you guys were on live with us during our live trading, we spoke about this 557 level. I longed yesterday the zone here at 55 or 625. This is my main long spot yesterday. So I ended up making some money on SPY, but I ended up doing a lot better on the Qs yesterday. And this is one of the first times I've traded QQQ in a long time. It's actually the first time I traded Qs in the entire year 2025, which is kind of bizarre to say. It almost feels like maybe I did somewhere at some point in time, but I checked my P&L on my Thinkorswim, and it was the first time, at least in that account, that I traded QQQ. So we'll talk about Qs today, and I think QQQ has a really clear level. Again, it's just simply 557, right? So this is going to be a major talking point for us this morning. 557, above it bullish, below it bearish. We're going to go over Nvidia. Nvidia was sexy, right? This is part of the reason why I do pre-markets with you guys as well, is because I want you guys to know, I want you guys to understand what's happening in the market, and do things beyond what people are telling you, right? Some of you guys are in Signals chat, some of you guys are probably in our chat, some of you guys are probably in other people's chats, right? But the biggest thing you can do for yourself is trade your own levels, right? Trade your own goddamn levels. Because yesterday in Nvidia, I probably could have traded this. I would have like yesterday I made 5K. I probably would have made like 10K if I traded Nvidia yesterday, right? Now what made me choose SPY and Qs over Nvidia? Honest answer, nothing, right? Nothing made me choose nothing, just simply because I'm watching SPY in the left chart and my eyes went to that one first. Look at NVIDIA 169, right? This was the absolute bottom yesterday. This was the level for pullback longs that we discussed, and this was the level that worked. So NVIDIA obviously was one of the best names to trade yesterday's session. We'll talk about today, what we can do on it. AMD we'll talk about today as well. AMD kind of bounced a bit earlier, to be honest with you. Didn't really do anything crazy. We'll talk about it. We'll go over Tesla. This is a volatile name. We'll go over Amazon. We'll talk about Amazon. We'll talk about Apple. Apple, a little bit of a dead zone yesterday. But we'll go over everything this morning we can, and we'll have a nice pre-market session. We'll have a fun pre-market session. Anyways, guys, what I want to do is I want to just zoom in for a second. It looks like this is good. Does this layout, is this layout cleaner? Do you guys like this layout? Is it okay? How's the quality? I'm worried about the quality. To me, the quality looks a little bit subpar, but I'll review it later. I'm just curious, what do you guys think? Is the new cleaner layout good? Like, because basically we'll start off the stream with the crazy overlays, but then we'll jump into the more clear charts. Anyway, so what I want to do first is I want to dive into all this stuff. I'm reading the chat. You say it's good. If it's good, it's good. If it's good, it's good. We'll leave it at that then. So today's session, obviously you guys already know what's going on in the earnings docket. We kind of spoke about this yesterday. We spoke about it Monday as well. Today's session, Wednesday, July 16th, we have ASML. We have some tech earnings, some chip earnings this morning. You also have BAC, GS, J&J, Morgan Stanley reporting earnings in the pre-market session this morning. Okay. Now after hours today, you have UAL. You have, that's it. Okay. Now Thursday, this is where things really begin to kick off. So Thursday session, TSM, that's where we can expect some fireworks, right? TSM and Netflix being the biggest names to watch out for this week. Why? Because this is what starts off the tech earnings, the tech earnings season, okay? In terms of economic data, today's session, we have PPI final demand. So kind of like yesterday, right? We had the CPI, Consumer Price Index. Today's session, you have PPI, Producer Price Index. This morning, we are looking at inflation for producers. That's what it is, right? Now, yesterday, the inflation read slightly better than expected, but it wasn't crazy. It was just simply a little bit better than expectations. Now, today's session with PPI final demand, we can get the numbers right in front of us. In fact, I haven't even seen the numbers yet, but we're going to do it right now, and we'll get the actual read. So the actual numbers on core PPI are great, right? This is actually a great read. Why is this a great read? Because the median forecast was 0.2, and this is coming in at 0.0, right? So 0.0, this is 0.2 better than expectations. This is actually nice. And the reason why this is even nicer than what came out for CPI was that look at the previous for CPI compared to the actual, right? You can see previous CPI 0.1, and then the actual was 0.3. So obviously ascending in value there, right? Even though the forecast was better in some cases, or at least met, it's ascending CPI, right? Whereas here on the PPI, you have a descending PPI. Okay, basically I'm saying PPI is going down from previous, right? So 0.3 previous, 0.0 current. That's obviously why market's reacting higher. And that's what's going on today's session. In terms of other econ data this morning, we do have some 10 o'clock data. We have 10 o'clock Fed speakers, and also a 2 p.m. Release as well. So nothing crazy today's session. It is PPI, so be aware of that. But that's really all we have on the docket today, this morning session. What I want to do with you guys today is I want to spend the majority of our session on our charts. I want to talk a little bit about what's going on. Before I do that though, let me get some water. I'll read the chat. People are asking what time frame am I on? I'm on the 5 minute right now. So I'm on the 5 minute, but usually when I do my analysis, it's on the 1 hour. All right, so let's dive into it. Yesterday's session, let's sort of recap yesterday. Let's get like a recap yesterday, and we'll read yesterday. We'll sort of read yesterday's price action like a book, okay? So earlier in the morning, we had initial rejections off the 628 supply. So you had the all-time high supply, pre-market, right? We failed off this level, and we moved back from our supply, right, our S to our D, right? We had our demand below here at 625. And this was our sort of discussion yesterday was basically, okay, we fail below this level, if you fail below 626.30, you see 625. 625 is big demand below, look for bounces there, right? And that was what I did yesterday. My yesterday's session was basically me just focused on looking for a pullback long, back into demand for reversion plays. We bounced off demand here. We made a little bit of money off this demand bounce, but market ended up failing, right? We saw some failures in the market. We saw some failures under our previous day high. We had a previous day high at 625.20, 625 and change, and we failed right below it, right? We failed right below it, initial bounce, then we failed below it, downside move, retest, and we sort of just fizzled out all morning. So there were some long-based opportunities in the morning. There were also some short-based opportunities in the afternoon. That was the thesis. That was just the theme of yesterday's session, right? Long base, short base, right? Now, today's session, if you're looking at this market right now, you must understand on the 15-minute time frame what's going on. So you do see a failure of all-time highs. That's the first and most important thing we're going to say, right? So you do see a failure of all-time highs, and we know our pre-CPI level is right over here, right? So we're under our pre-CPI level, we are under our all-time highs, and we're under that Monday highs. This morning, right, even though we saw some failures in the market come in, right? You saw some failures in the market and some downside moves into demand, right? We didn't really break anything crazy besides just 625, right? We broke 625 and we saw some dissension back into 621, but we didn't break 621, right? We sort of broke and then reclaimed it, and then obviously right now we're moving higher. So this morning, let's not get so crazed up and try to short everything yet, right? The reason why I say that is because as long as we are above these lows, these series of lows, markets maintaining, right? Markets maintaining a key demand below, and we must respect that, right? So what I'd be looking out for today's session is I'll be looking first and foremost for this. I'll be looking for, and this is the best possible case scenario would be, can we get back above Monday's highs? Because if we can get back above Monday's highs on the market, on the S&P, then I would expect, right? I would expect there to be some short-term movements back into highs here, back into the all-time highs here at 628. So the top watch this morning is, do we get above 625? Because if we do, there is longs back into 628. Now, before I started the stream this morning, I was even going to be looking for longs above 623. Because above 623, our previous day session low, we could even look for longs back into 625. These are the two long-based trades I have today. Either above 623 for long-based trades into 625, or above 625 for long-based trades into 628. Those are the two things I'm looking for going into the session for longs. Now, where can I look for shorts today? Well, unfortunately, the way I would look at this, right, is if I'm looking for shorts, the best possible short is still the same as what it was on Monday, right? Remember on Monday we said the best possible short in the market is going to be under 621? Well, it's the same thing, right? I don't really like shorting the market too much unless we are back under 621. If we are back under 621, then we have a break in structure, a break in overall of upward structure, and we can look for downward moves, right? Back into 619, back into 615. This would be a great test in the market for longs. But to sort of repeat myself again here, right? What I'd be looking for today's session for shorts is back under this demand low for puts, very simply, or back above 625 for longs. That's really what I'm doing today. Now, I'm not saying we can't take puts though, right? We still could take puts, and obviously the level you're probably watching today is, can you see, if you see us fail the 625, right? That could be your short today, right? So even though I'm saying like, okay, let's look for longs here and let's look for longs here, right? It doesn't mean you can't go short here at 625 either, right? It's still a valid short entry, right, off the 625. But for me, it's only a scalp, right? These would be trades I can hold for longer, right? Trades I try to trail out and squeeze as much as possible because the market's still in bullish structure. Nothing yesterday really didn't flip anything, right? We saw a failure under our Monday's highs, but we still maintain demand here at 621. And you can't come into today's session with an overly short bias. It's very important. Now, where short bias can really become effective is if this happens, right? If you break back under 621, then I can look for puts all the way back in 615. That's where I can become really short bias and look for the move back down lower. So again, I'm trying to make myself clear here. We cannot be overly short bias this morning, right? We just simply failed yesterday off of some CPI data. We moved back into demand. We must understand that. It's very critical. Now, if you do want to scalp a short today before 621 breaks, then yes, you could do so, but it's got to be back here at 625. If you see a failure here at 625, then absolutely go short and look for a move down lower, okay? So this would be the other short you could take today, but again, it may just be a scalp, okay? On the ES chart, it is also pretty simple, right? Yesterday's session, where I went long yesterday, this was like the best possible long spot. This was the only possible long spot I had yesterday on the ES chart, was just simply looking to see, can we turn the previous session highs, which was at 63.15, into support after a big gap up. Big gap up in the market, held longs yesterday, maintained a long position here at 63.15, and this was like my big trade yesterday, right? Now, granted, even though it was a nice little move off the demand lows here, it basically just dead cat bounced, right? You saw a little bit of a dead cat bounce here at 63.15, and then a break under demand, and then sort of retested it, and the downside move came in. So you could look at this demand bounce yesterday as bullish, and it was bullish, right? But it simply just dead cat bounced yesterday. Now, if you look at the market this morning on the ES chart, we are still underneath that level, right? So this morning, yes, we probably do have upside potential today, right? Back into that 63.15. If we are above this 62.90 level on ES's chart, you should see us move back into 63.15. Because again, why would I say that? This level here on this ES chart, 62.90, is the same thing as SPY 623. Technically, if we are above 623 on SPY, we should see this happen today in the market. This is what I'd be expecting. But the question mark, here's the big question mark today. Right? This is like 90% chance of happening, right? We just moved back into 63.15, back into 625 SPY. The question mark we have to ask ourselves today, right, this is the big question mark. Do we get above 625? Do we get above 6315? Right? Those are the two things. 625 SPY, 6315 ES. If you get above it, expect there to be some more upside room back into the all-time highs, back into that 6340, back into the SPY 628, right? But if you see us do this today, right? If you see us do this, big upside off the open, right? Brett said, oh my God, we're going higher today. Don't go short, right? And then, oh my God, I'm going to go long right now in the market because Brett said that we're going to go higher because he showed us a chart this morning that looked like it was bullish. And then you buy your calls right now, and then the market does this, and then now you're looking at me like, oh my God, Brett's stupid, right? So something must be wrong with him, right? No, nothing's wrong with me, right? What you have to do today is you're either going to be long above the 6290, right? Above 6290 and scalp it back into these highs here. And then at that moment, it is a question mark of whether we do scenario 1 or scenario 2. That's it, right? That's the big question mark today's session. And we could see 6315 fail today. It's a very logical failure point, right? It's the Monday's highs, it's the Friday's highs, it's the Wednesday's highs of last week, right? This is a big failure point in the market. And for sustained longs, we have to see us break and hold above it. That would be your best possible long entry. But again, we can't just do this today and say, I want a long right now. Because again, that would be a very illogical thing to do because we'd be long back in a supply. So again, that's what I'm seeing this morning. We have a reclaim right now above our Tuesday level, right? Which should get us higher to here. But the question mark, again, is simply, do we get above that high? Okay, that's it. On the Qs. On the QQQ chart, I mean, this was the level. If you call yourself a break and retest trader, right? And this is like I said this on live before I hopped off yesterday too. Like if you call yourself a break and retest trader, how could you not take this trade? I mean, this was a trade you have to kind of take, and you see it, right? I hope you guys see it too, right? You see the highs and the highs and the highs, right? And then you see us big breakout above the highs and a nice little pullback to our demand here at 557. This was our long spot yesterday, right? So yesterday in the Qs, we had a beautiful technical long spot here at 557. Now, today's session here on the Qs, you saw some hold 557, some hold 557, some hold 557. But then yesterday, what did you see? What did you see at approximately like 3 o'clock yesterday's session? You saw Trump come on the television, right? And you saw some bam downside move, right? Now this morning, what's going on here on the Qs? Well, big downside yesterday on the QQQ under our level. But now you're seeing the potential reclaim here, right? And this reclaim right here should be the most important level you see today on the Qs. This is probably the most important level you watch today, right? Even beyond everything I said here in SPY for the last 15 minutes, right? The Qs, the most important thing to watch out for is 557. It's very clear, right? It's very, very clear. 557 is your exact Monday's highs, is your exact Wednesday level, is your exact Thursday level. If we are above this level, bullish momentum back into highs here. Simple, right? If you're below 557, then look for failures and move down lower. That's it. That's all we have today here in Qs, and it doesn't require any more analysis. That's all we have to. That's all we have to do here on the QQQ. Okay, so NQ charts probably the same thing. I haven't even looked at the NQ chart. I haven't adjusted anything in the NQ chart since we discussed last session. And you're going to see, look at this yesterday, right? 23,100, 23,100, 23,100, and then finally fail below, right? Now today's session. Interesting though, you are seeing this, you're seeing QQQ above the level and NQ below the level, so it's a little bit of a discrepancy here, right? But you do want to see us back above this 23,100. If you see us reclaim this could be a nice long base move back into these highs over here at 23,200. Okay, that's all we have here in NQ, right? So that being said, let's move on. We are going to dive into our other charts. You're going to start off with the first ticker of the day. We're going to start off with the video. So NVIDIA, and by the way, guys, we have 1,100 viewers, and we have 400 likes. If you guys can get the like count up, that would be helpful. Shanice, unfortunately, I'm not going to go over SPX because, look, I'll be honest with you. I'm going to say this right now, quick, right? Going over SPX is the same thing as going over SPY, is the same thing as going ES, right? I'm already kind of being redundant, right? Going over SPY to ES and then Qs to NQ, it's redundant, right? It's all the same thing. So if you're trading SPX, you're just trading levels in SPY, right? That's all it is. SPX is just a derivative. So just make sure you have levels in SPY and you can trade SPX. Okay, so NVIDIA chart. But I do understand why you want SPX. The only thing is it would just be more redundant. So on the NVIDIA chart, this morning. So yesterday you guys saw a big gap up in the market, right? And I think this was probably, I think if we were right about anything yesterday here pre-market, NVIDIA was probably the one we were most right about. I mean, just incredible. We spoke about this yesterday at 168. We said watch the 168 bounce, but then we reviewed this. We're like, you know what? Like the chances are it's probably not even good at 168 because it's too obvious, right? 169 was the most logical level, right? And you saw us beautifully maintain 169 yesterday. Did anybody trade NVIDIA yesterday? Did anybody get any trades in NVIDIA yesterday's session off demand or anywhere else? Like this was actually probably the best. I wish I did. I didn't trade this, but I'm sure some of you guys probably did catch this or at some point caught a little bit of this position. Anyway. On NVIDIA, right? 169 was a big level yesterday. Now today's session, if you zoom out, okay, you zoom out for a second, and you see kind of what's happening here. Someone said they took NVIDIA put swing. No, it's the wrong way, B-Walt. That's the wrong way. But you know what? That's fine. If you caught it off the open and shorted back into demand, that's still fine. On NVIDIA, AMD was a better setup. Yeah, AMD was also nice. We'll talk about that too. On NVIDIA, right? You are seeing sustained upside, right? This is the Usain Bolt of SPY, right? We're looking at Usain Bolt right now. This is not a chart. This is Usain Bolt, and it's bolting, right? It bolts. It goes into a little bit of a rest period. It bolts, rest period, bolt, rest period, bolt. Now I would expect at this point though, I would expect this. Seriously, I would expect this. I would expect a rest period, right? You have to expect a rest period, right? You can't just bounce 169 yesterday and think that's it, right? You need to see some rest period. And I think it's got to be back at 168 now. 168, 167, that's where I'd expect us to pull back into, right? Ebbs and flows and ebbs and flows and ebbs and flows, ebbs and flows, right? Look for this to pull back to 167 to 168. Again, does that mean you want to put scalp it? Do you want to scalp back into demand? Sure, by all means you can do it, right? But the best possible entry is going to be probably demand back below, right? You can scalp the flow back lower, but I think that the best long base entry is going to be here back in demand. Watch that 168 to 167 for longs. Okay, if you do see us clear above 173, right? 173. Then this just rips, and it's just simple as that, right? You do see you got to look at this for a second and just see how similar this price action is to 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 this price action, right? This is just a stair step upside move. Let's see what happens here on the video, okay? On AMD is also similar, right? AMD is the competitor to Usain Bolt. I don't know any other runners besides Usain Bolt. I'll be honest. It's the only runner I know. Whoever the person's name is AMD. Okay, AMD is similar. You're seeing basically a big upside move in the market followed by a smaller trace from yesterday. Now, to be honest with you, NVIDIA, I actually think that was a trade there on NVIDIA. 169 was an obvious trade. That was an obvious level. On AMD, I don't know if I could have dug into this though, because it was a bit early, right? I had a level here at 153. It's over holding pre-market, but it didn't really present many entries yesterday. So even though this is a nice setup, it didn't really present much yesterday. Now today's session on AMD, yeah, I show speed. There you go. I show speed. That's a good one. On AMD, I think at some point in time, you would expect this to give you that ebb back to demand, right? So when I say ebb back to demand, I mean this, right? I mean this. I mean, we want to see this big upside gap, right? Pull back to our 148 level. That's our best possible long base entry today, right? So I know that it's far away from us right now. It is far away and it's running, right? It's straight up just running across the field. But we need to see this pull back to demand. And that's as simple as that, right? If I'm watching for demand entries, I'm looking for either 150 or 148. Those are the two longs I'm watching today's session. Very simply, demand 1, demand 2. That's all I have today here in AMD, okay? Watch those levels today. And obviously NVIDIA, repeating myself, it's 168. That's all I have today in NVIDIA, okay? Or 173 upside. On the SMH yesterday, SMH actually danger here, right? I mean, this is not what you want to see in the SMH. I wonder what's selling SMH today, because it's not AMD, it's not NVIDIA. It must be some other chips. It could be ASML, right? ASML probably moving down lower. It must be. Yep, ASML moving down lower. And the reason why we kind of knew ASML was moving down lower is because SMH is breaking down a key level here. Interesting, right? You're seeing a failure under 288 today here in SMH. That could mean more sustained downside today back in 283, right? So if we were under 288 today, I would expect us to pull back to that 283. That's what I would expect here on the SMH chart. So watch 288. If you're above it, bullish. If you're below it, technically bearish, downside move, okay? On the ASML chart, ASML, big gap down the market following earnings. Here on ASML, I don't really have a read here, to be honest with you. The reason why I say that is because you have a massive critical demand here, right? At 700, where you can see big 700 demand below, okay? Big 700 demand below. And then you have a big 785 supply above, right? So for me, and I'm just doing this as I go right now, right? Obviously, this is a chart that I don't really trade often, so I'm just doing this live with you guys. But for now, right? This chart is back in a zone that I would not touch, right? This is the graveyard zone. Graveyard zone, right? And that's where the ASML is, right? So we are under 785 and we're above 700. At this point, I would expect 785 failures to result in a pullback to 700. That's it. That's all I have here on this chart. And we are in a zone that I don't really want to be involved in, okay? MU strong, big level here, 111. AVGO, you want to look for a pullback to that 265 at some point. That's your big level for longs. Watch this orange level right here, 265, major level test. Okay, Tesla. So Tesla has been has been a stock that I just don't really have a good read on. If you guys remember from Monday's session, do you guys remember Monday? I went long. I'll show you where I went long on Monday. On Monday's session, I saw us pull back, right? So big upside, failure 320, big downside. We pulled back to demand here, 312, 313. Nice little pin bar came in here on this chart here, Tesla. And then I went long here at 1035. I went long at 1035 and I sold it at 1036. I got in and I was like, you know what? Like, I don't really have a good read here, right? I ended up selling and that was the right move because look at what Tesla did after I sold. Nothing, 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 right? It didn't do anything. I think it was the right move. And sometimes you have to understand when to battle back and hold with conviction and when to just realize, you know what, there's just no edge right now, right? And if I look at Tesla for long enough, sure, I can tell you guys things here in Tesla. I can tell you guys, upside above 320 or downside below 308, right? I can tell you guys a lot of things right now. And a lot of things I say may result in something, right? But to be honest with you, I just don't really have any edge here. So the best thing you can do when you have a chart that you have no edge on is to determine where the levels are that would make you have edge, right? And obviously that's what we should be doing as traders, right? But sometimes you have all these like middle levels, right? For example, I have like 312, I have 314, I have 317, and I have no intention to trade these levels. So for that reason, I'm just going to delete them. Because if I have no intention to trade these levels, I will just simply remove them from my chart. Because if I have the levels in my chart that are there, right, and I see it reacting off my levels, what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to trade it, right? And it's the wrong idea. So for me, I am deleting all my levels here in Tesla besides the two macro levels. Macro level number 1 is 320. Macro level 2 is 308. I know that in Tesla, we are looking for either a break above 320 for longs, right? Or failure below 308 for puts. That's it. That's all I have here on Tesla. There's nothing else, no better read than this, I think, right? Now, granted, here's the thing. If you are a Tesla analyst, okay, you are a Tesla assassin, right? Then don't listen to me right now because there are some opportunities in between. Or you have 313, just like I had. You had levels in between. But for me, watching 320 and watching 308. That's all I'm doing here on Tesla, okay? Amazon. I mean, this is the chart, right? This is the chart. We have 227 now as your supply. We have our 224 as demand. What's going to happen here on Amazon is either a break and hold above the supply, above 227 for longs, back into 229, or you're going to look for some sort of pullback long today here at 224. That's it. That's all I have here on the Amazon chart. Either demand bounce here at 224 or long is above 227. That's what Amazon is. Okay. On the Apple chart, AAPL, kind of similar to Tesla, right? Remember I was saying Tesla edge, right? Where's the Tesla edge, right? And you look at this chart here in Apple, and what you could do is I could very quickly come into this chart, and I can tell you guys a lot of things here in Apple in the 5-minute. I could start drawing levels here and there and here and there, right? But we're not going to do that, right? Ask yourself this: where would you trade Apple today, right? And for me, it's only going to be one of two places. It's either going to be, do we see some sort of long setup here above 212, above our Tuesday's highs, or do we see a short setup below 208.50? In which case, that gives us two levels to trade off of, right? We have our level number 1, which is going to be either above these highs. Level number 2 is below these lows. We can see a very clear graveyard zone, right? Graveyard zone is between 212 and 208.50. If you see us break above the 212 level, you can look for the longs back at 214. If you see us break below 208.50, you can see us go back into 205. That's all we have here on this chart here in Apple. So keep this in the back burner. That's all I have here in Apple, okay? So Meta, on the Meta chart, META, Meta. Meta, you had a zone here between 715 and 725. And yesterday's session, you saw us fail below that 715 level. Today's session is all about 715, right? If you can get back above 715, there's longs here. But if you can't get back above 715, then this is going to fail back lower to 705, right? So today's session, you're probably watching this. Either you're looking for us to reclaim here, right? Little failure, rip, reclaim, upside move, right? That could be a nice chart to watch out for today's session here in Meta. But if you do see us under 715, then I would expect this to sort of fizzle, right? Fizzle back lower into the 705s and potentially lower than that 695. So again, no read here on Meta, nothing crazy, but just watch 715 today. Everything you have to know about Meta is determined by 715. If we're above it, bullish. If we're below it, bearish. Now, the reason why I'm saying reclaims is because if you look at Meta on the 5 minute from Friday session, look at Friday. Look at Friday on the 5 minute. Look what it did on Friday, right? Big downside off the open, right? Rip, reclaim, right? And this was a really good long entry. If you longed it here on the break and reclaim, this was a really nice long opportunity. Now, today's session, it almost looks similar to that, right? You're seeing us break down under that 715. We're sitting right below it, right? Now, if the market gets strong today, this could be a nice long opportunity above 7.5. Because if it clears 7.5, you should, in theory, see it move back into 720 and 7.25. Okay, guys, thank you all for joining in. That is it. I'm gonna flash the PLTR chart because I know some people are gonna have a little bit of withdrawals if I don't show the PLTR chart. So I'll show it just so you can see it. 147.70 is your level this morning. That's your big level. That's your Tuesday's lows level. That's the level to watch out for. Guys, thank you all for joining in. I appreciate everyone here. This is awesome. We had a really good analysis this morning. Let's call it here. And what I'll say, I'll leave you this is trade safe, trade smart. That's it. I'll see you guys. Bye-bye.